Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name's Jen and I am that props girl. And it's been a minute since I have filmed for you. Some of you may be saying, but you just uploaded a YouTube video. Yes, I did. But that was very old footage that I shot almost a year ago, as was the next video that came after that. As is the footage today, I'm just doing a new intro for it. Life was lifing last year for me, and in the last 6 months of the year I barely had time to stop. YouTube just had to go onto the back burner because I had so much going on with work and I had no spare time to invest into my channel, sadly. But I can assure you that the footage that I filmed last year is all still relevant. The content that I do is usually evergreen and it doesn't need to be in a particular year to be relevant. So I'm just jumping on here to say that some of the content that I'm uploading for the next few weeks, you may have seen it before on my Instagram or on my TikTok. These are the long form videos that I have been promising and I'm finally delivering on for the tutorials from some of the props that I made in 2025. All of that to say, today I am really excited because I'm finally sharing my updated tutorial on how I made these milkshakes for Footloose the Musical last year. I actually already did a video on how to make prop milkshakes back in 2021 and I'm still really proud of that video, and not heaps has changed from the tutorial, but the method is slightly different and this version I think would probably work out a little bit cheaper. The thing is that I've learned a lot since then, so I thought it warranted an updated tutorial because as you can see the end results look a little bit different. So if you are keen to see all of that happen, then stick around. Be sure to smash that like button because it lets me know you want to see more content like this, as well as consider hitting that subscribe button and bell. And thank you to the 5,000 of you who have already subscribed to this channel. Oh my gosh, I hit that milestone this week and I'm blown away. So thank you for the love and let's jump into the tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to go through a little bit of a supplies list first. So the first thing that you are going to need is acrylic paint. So your acrylic paint that you're going to be choosing is going to be dependent on what flavor milkshake you're making. I made several different flavors, as you can see. So if you're going to do chocolate, I suggest you use brown, but completely up to you. But you will need acrylic paint. You will also need Mod Podge. Now, it really doesn't matter that much which version of Mod Podge you use. I actually didn't have any of the gloss kind, which would be what I would normally recommend, just because syrup is obviously a liquid, and when we're mimicking the syrup texture, we want it to look wet. So the gloss one would be preferential. I think in the original tutorial, I used a matte one, but if you can get your hands on the gloss one, great. If not, it's not going to make a massive difference. I ended up using the dishwasher safe one and it was just fine. You'll also need at least one paintbrush to put the syrup and all of the ingredients into the cups that you're using. Speaking of cups, you will need a vessel of some sort. So in my first tutorial, you would see that I just use a regular acrylic cup. You can do that, or if you would like to get that more traditional sort of look, I will put a link down below to the ones that I bought. They're from Amazon. There are also other places you can buy them online as well. You might even be able to find them at dollar stores. Unfortunately, I couldn't, which is why I grabbed them off Amazon. You'll also need baking powder as well. Spack filler or wall filler is another thing that you will need to use. You don't need to buy the really expensive brand. The one that I buy is in a big tub and I think it's maybe $12 for the tub in Australian dollars. The one I use I like because it's a bit more liquidy, so you do have a little bit more range with what you can do. But I've also used the Sellies one. I think in the original one I used that one and it's great. It's more lightweight than the one that I use and it looks a little bit more like ice cream. Expanding foam is something new that I'm doing in this one. Again, you don't have to buy a super expensive brand. You'll need some materials to mix the paint with. You could use a paint palette or you could do what I did and just use some paper cups and a popsicle stick. Last but not least, is optional, but if you want to put sprinkles on top, you will need some sort of sprinkles. You could potentially use actual sprinkles. However, I don't know how long the longevity would be of that and whether they would break down over time. So if you've watched any of my videos, such as my fake donuts video, you'll know that I often use the little tiny rubber hairbands that you would put in your hair. I get colored ones of those and I just chop them up. But you could also make them yourself with polymer clay. That's something I'm interested in trying soon. So if you are interested, I can do a video on that. So comment down below if you would like me to do a tutorial or a vlog or include content on that in the future. Okay, step number 1 is that we are going to take our acrylic paint color that we're going to be using for our syrup. I suggest using a darker color than the actual liquid that you're going to use, or mix whatever color that you're using for the milk part of it with white just to lighten it up, because the syrup is usually darker. So we're going to take our syrup color and we're going to mix it with Mod Podge. In terms of the ratio, you do want more paint than Mod Podge, and it is kind of a bit of user's choice in terms of how much you want to use. I normally go on a ratio of like 1/3 Mod Podge to 2/3 paint, or 1/4 to 3/4 paint. The Mod Podge here is acting kind of as a thickener, but also, as I said before, to give it that sort of glossy texture. And it's sort of turning it into that syrup, but a little goes a long way with Mod Podge, so you don't need too much. So I would add it in gradually and then see when it gets to the right sort of texture for what you're looking for and go from there. Step number 2 is to paint it onto your cup. So I started from the bottom. So normally when you put syrup into a glass, it pools at the bottom. So I put some there and then I started to work my way around the edge and I painted it down the sides, and then I went and did the outside as well. You don't have to do the outside, but I found that the overall look was better when I went over the outside. And I just set this aside to dry. If you would like it to be less transparent, you will need to be a bit more heavy-handed with your painting. When that's done, set that aside to dry. Step number 3 is to make the milk component. So for this one, we are going to take our acrylic paint again in whatever color you need for your milkshake, and we're going to mix that with the baking powder. Now the baking powder is also kind of like the Mod Podge. It's going to react with that paint and it makes it a little bit more fluffy, and it sort of mimics a little bit the texture of ice cream, and from the outside it won't just look like there's just paint on the outside of a glass. It'll make it be a bit thicker, and it will also make it a little less transparent. So go ahead and paint the whole inside of that cup, and then once again set that aside to dry. Once that is done, this is where the tutorial starts to differ from my previous one. Originally, I filled the glass with the spack filler. That makes it quite heavy. It also makes it quite expensive. So instead, we're going to fill it with expanding foam. Now, if you've never used expanding foam before, please note a little goes a long way. It expands by nature, so you might pop some into the cup and go, oh, that doesn't look like a lot. It actually does blow out. So pop a little bit in, see how far it goes, and you might need to do a little bit of trial and error with how much you need. Read the back of your can though, because it does require a curing time before when you can actually work with it. So just find out what your hardening time is, because it's very sticky and you don't want to be cutting into it, which we will be doing in the next step, until it is completely cured. Step number 5, as I just said, is to cut the tops off. So once our expanding foam has finished, mine rose a bit above the cup, I went and flattened that top. So I cut that dome shape off just to give me a flat surface. I mean, if that's the kind of thing you would like on top of your milkshake, you can leave it. But I personally wanted that flat texture. And then from there, we are going to use our spack filler to be our whipped cream on top. If you want to go and color the spack filler, you can easily just add acrylic paint in and like whip it up with the spack filler and it will take on that color. I was just doing plain whipped cream. Now you can use a piping bag if you would like to get a bit more fancy than I did. I just used a spoon and dolloped it on there and shaped it myself. And I've been saying for years that I need to work on my skill set there and I haven't. So if you remember me saying that in 2021, yeah, nothing's changed. It's terrible. An optional material that you can have is paper straws or plastic straws, whatever you'd like to use. If you're using a straw, now is the time to insert that into the spack filler so that it cures all together. And once again, leave it aside to dry. So side note, so many things with props making is leave it aside to dry, leave it aside to dry, leave it aside to dry. Like it's just one of those areas where unfortunately most of the time you can't just work through. There's like so many stages, but I promise it's worth it in the end. Our final step, number 6, is when our spack filler is completely dry, you have the option of decorating. So if you would like to, get that acrylic paint back out and you can paint on syrup. You don't need the Mod Podge for this. Usually acrylic paint has that sort of waxy sort of look to it, but if you really want to add the Mod Podge in, you can. Paint the top, let that one dry, and then put your sprinkles on top if you're using sprinkles, and then coat it in the Mod Podge. Alternately, you can coat it in the Mod Podge, then put your sprinkles on. They will adhere to the Mod Podge. I've done it both ways. It works both ways. And that is the full tutorial. I am so happy with how they turned out. They were for a diner scene in Footloose the musical and they looked phenomenal on stage. I absolutely loved all the work that I did for these, for my resin drinks, which I showed you guys a tutorial of a couple of weeks ago, and all of the diner food. Some of that I have uploaded, but I have got more tutorials coming from all of that food. I promise I will get it out to you guys. But that is it from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to smash that like button if you did, because it lets me know you want to see more content like this, and consider hitting that subscribe button and bell so that you don't miss any of my uploads. And I'll catch you guys next time. Bye.